Hey everybody, David from Flash by VCycleNet. So I've had about a week or not so now to ponder over the new R9 that's coming out, which I'm super excited about. Obviously have one on order. And I've seen a lot of stuff online, people not liking the looks or this or that. And overall, most of what people are complaining about, I find kind of comical, and we see a lot of this every time a new bike comes out. But there is something about the bike that concerns me, and it's not for the street riders. For street riders, none of this will really apply. But for the racetrack, there's something that I think is just going to kind of hold it back a bit. So it's not the wings. It's not the breadbasket tail section. It's not even the worst designed turn signal button in the history of motorcycles. It's the lower than the competition Redline. And let me explain a little bit. So in my rudimentary non-engineering mind, there are two major things that control Redline. The first one of them we can kind of change. And that's the head design, right? We have camshafts where they make power. More importantly, springs and how tight they are and before they start to float. Like if you've ever tried to raise the Redline on an MTU7 or an R7, you will quickly find the limits of the stock valve springs. And this kind of stuff can be updated. We can put lighter valves, stronger springs, different cam profiles, and we can increase the Redline. The next part of this is a little harder to fix, and it has to do with that bad boy up there called a piston. And one of the major contributing factors to what a Redline is piston speed. And so you would think that a Redline, similar Redlines would have similar piston speeds, but it doesn't work out that way. The thing that affects the piston speed the most is the stroke of the motor, how far the piston moves up and down in each stroke. If we're taking a longer stroke, it has the same piston speed at a lower RPM. And when I did the math, surprisingly enough, at a little bit over our Redline that we have available for us on the 24 MT09, which is 11,000 RPM, versus the 16,000 limit R6 Redline, the piston speed's about the same. And what that means is we're not going to easily raise this. Right? So we're kind of stuck with an 11,000 RPM rev range. And just to be clear, what I'm talking about doesn't really affect the street rider, but where it is going to affect is the track rider. And why is that? Why is that lower RPM limit a big deal? And it has to do with gearing. So if you have, let's say in the R6, which is the bike that it's replacing, when you have 5,000 more RPMs to play with, it allows you to gear the bike in what I would call shorter. So you're basically in a lower gear or a lower gear and a half than the the R9 in this case, going around the track. Now, Yamaha said they've optimize the gearing for the track, but to me that probably just means it has a really tall first gear and first through sixth gear are much closer together, so there won't be as much as a jump between gears. But in the end, if you got to gear a bike to go 170 miles an hour and it only can spin to 11,000 RPMs, it's got to carry a taller gear than the bike can spin out to 16,000 RPMs. So, and this, I don't have any apprehensions that straight up against the R6 that the R9 is going to out-accelerate it, even with this gearing disadvantage. The problem is that in most racing organizations, it's not going to be racing the R6. In Moto America, they have, and other world level or national level series, they have spec ECUs. If you look in Moto America now, we currently have MV Augustas, which are 800cc triples, Ducati V2s that are 955cc V twins. We have GSXR 750s, Kawasaki ZX6Rs, and Yamaha R6s all racing against each other, and they do this because they have a spec ECU. So they're able to even out the competition. So that doesn't apply to this, but where this does apply is like for somebody like myself, I race in OMRA and WIMRA, and the classes that it fits in. So WIMRA and OMRA, they divide kind of like into open, heavyweight, and middleweight. And in between open and middleweight is a 600. And then below that is like lightweight, ultra lightweight. So middleweight, it doesn't even come close to qualifying in. And 600s only go up to a 765cc triple. So we're at 890 cc's. So to race this bike in WIMRA or OMRA, I'm going to have to run it in open, which I'm going to be competing against like ZX10s, a bunch of stuff with over 200 horsepower. So not going to be competitive. To make it even worse, if I try to maximize the performance of this and do things like mess with the cams and stuff like that to try to just maximize it, then I'm not going to be able to fall under super sport rules. I'm going to have to be falling under super bike rules. I did take a quick look at Astra and Wera rules, and it does look to be better than my Wimmer and Omer rules, but in the end, it's still going to be competing against bikes that are bigger than it, have higher red lines, and just make more power. So I do think this is going to be the biggest disadvantage of it, is that it's going to have to end up racing in a lot of organizations against bikes that are more powerful than it. So be interested to hear what your guys' thoughts on this. If the class is the series that you race in, how it fits up, and what bikes it would be racing against. And thanks, guys, for watching. We're all looking forward to this R9 coming out. I can't wait to get my hands on one. I'm here in March, but I haven't heard anything definite. So, thanks, guys. Take care. Peace out.